Hi, I'm Claire Armitage. I'm the Assistant Curator of Art at the Museum and Art Gallery of the Northern Territory, and I am sitting here with Luke Scholes, who is the Curator of Aboriginal Art and Material Culture. He's also the Curator of the Moment Eternal, Nyapanyapa Yunupiŋu, and very happy to be having a conversation with him today about the exhibition and the reasons why he's done particular things, and yeah, we're just going to talk through a couple of things.
Great.
The first thing that I wanted to ask you, Luke, is why you chose Nyapanyapa for this opportunity.
Sure. This is the very first exhibition that the Museum and Art Gallery of the Northern Territory have developed on a solo Aboriginal artist. And so it was really exciting. It was a little bit daunting as well. It's been a long time coming, an exhibition like this. You know, we're in a region surrounded by incredible Indigenous and non-Indigenous artists. And for this particular opportunity, I thought it was, really important, obviously, to choose a Northern Territory artist to base it on, but also to pick someone who I felt really kind of exemplified what was unique about art making in the Northern Territory, in particular, Aboriginal art making in the Northern Territory. So I was really keen, and really women have been the backbone of the Aboriginal art sector for a very long time now. And I suppose that the genesis of what we've come to know as contemporary Aboriginal art was obviously a very male dominated kind of genesis, really. And so I thought it was really important to identify an Indigenous woman to focus this exhibition on. And I suppose personally going back, I was present at the Telstra National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Awards in 2008, when Nyapanyapa really, that was Nyapanyapa's kind of breakout kind of moment, when she exhibited her incredible work, Incident at Mutpi, 1975. And this was an artwork which was at once a bark painting, and also it was accompanied by a short movie made by the Yirrkala project, the audio-visual unit out at her art centre. And it was telling a story from Nyapanyapa's personal history, and this was quite groundbreaking in the history of Yolŋu art practice, for an artist to focus on something from their own personal past, rather than focus on clan designs and kind of hunting stories and these types of things. And so I remember seeing that work, being confronted by how unique that work was. How different it was, and the audience reaction was just, everyone was just in raptures over the work. It was all everyone was talking about, and then the museum acquired that work, and I think it's one of the really important works in our collection, because it captures that incredible kind of moment in time of Nyapanyapa's, her announcing herself as an artist, and really I've kind of followed Nyapanyapa's practice ever since then, and the twists and turns that her career has taken over the years visually have always kind of confounded me, and I've always been incredibly interested in finding out more about her, and this exhibition really gave me that opportunity, and I think it's going to give its audience an incredible opportunity to engage with that confounding kind of practice that takes all these twists and turns. And so practically it makes for a really fantastic survey exhibition, because you really do have that opportunity to look at the work, the way the exhibition is laid out in isolation, but also as a continuum as well. So look, choosing Nyapanyapa, I'd love to say that it was an easy decision to make, actually. In the end, it was, it's a pleasure, and I think I know the museum's really proud to be supporting and kind of highlighting just one of our, very many fantastic Indigenous artists that we have here in the Territory.
Yeah, that's amazing that incident at Whitby had such a big impact on you at that time.
Yeah.
We're sitting in front of a work called Yolŋu that also incorporates some video aspect as sort of an amazing evolution to think about the ground that Nyapanyapa broke then when she made that work and the ground that she might be breaking in a work like this. I wondered if you had any thoughts about that.
Well, back in 2008 when Incident at Whitby won, and we should say that it won the Wandok Marika 3D Memorial Prize sponsored by Telstra back in 2008, which was a kind of added to a part of the work's appeal and a part of the circus really. And I think it would have been impossible then to envisage that same artist would produce something as kind of as profound as I think this work is. It's not just the fact that this work is large. It's a double-sided work. So we produced this work with the assistance of the Australia Council for the Arts, who provided us funding to commission Nyapanyapa to create a work specifically for this exhibition. And when we were talking about this work and its function within the exhibition with particularly Will Stubbs out at Bukalunga, I really wanted this work to be a real cornerstone, a real kind of linchpin in the exhibition that kind of brought together. I wanted it to be the most contemporary work in the show, so the most recently created work in the exhibition, but we know that we wanted it also to show how far Nyapanyapa had come. But the fact that it does reference that earlier Incident at Whitby work in that we have a painting here that is produced on board, but on the other side of this painting, we have a digital component again produced with the Mulka project, the incredible audiovisual unit out at the Arts Centre. And for it to be on the scale that it is, as ambitious as it is, it really says a tremendous amount about Nyapanyapa, the diversity of her practice, but also the support and facilitation that she receives from the incredible Arts Centre staff out there as well. This work, the basis of this work was, formed through a lot of conversations with the Arts Centre and with Nyapanyapa, and we spoke a lot about what this work might be. And the Bangarra Dance Theatre company actually performed a short work that they'd made about Nyapanyapa and her life, and particularly Incident at Whitby, where Nyapanyapa was mauled by a wild buffalo as a young lady, and was mauled to, quite badly, and within, she was quite badly hurt during that. And so Bangarra Dance Theatre Company actually in September of 2018 travelled out to Yirrkala, where Nyapanyapa lives, and performed Nyapanyapa's story to the Yolŋu audience out at Yirrkala, and the stage that it was performed on has been recycled or upcycled, as they say, to be the substrate for this incredible painting. So we have three major kind of panels that have been joined together and made into a special kind of backing for Nyapanyapa to paint. The Yolŋu, the Stars story, made famous by her sister, who, it shows how far she's come, but really she was a really bright star from the very start, I suppose, so it all makes sense.
Yeah. And in an exhibition of this scale, you've got works here that have come from all over Australia and all over the world.
Yep. And
I wonder, aside from the logistics challenges that come about as a result of drawing something like that together on that scale, what some of the other challenges might have been in the process of developing the show.
Yeah, well, primarily, pulling together an object list from an artist as diverse as Nyapanyapa was really difficult. And there are all those logistical kind of hurdles of finding the available works, getting the support, and we've had some tremendous support from some incredibly willing and generous lenders from all over the world. And yeah, the logistics of finding those works that were available and then transporting them to, we're not far away from Yirrkala, but we're a long way away from where these works end up. And we have a number of works that have come from very far away. But yeah, really, exhibitions are about storytelling and trying to tell the story of someone who, I don't claim to know Nyapanyapa well, and what Nyapanyapa is willing to share with an outsider like me is limited. So really, you're telling the story of an artist rather than necessarily just telling the story of a person. But when you have such fantastic work, artwork to work with, then that storytelling becomes a little bit easier. But still, narrowing. She's a prolific artist, and so narrowing that object list down was really difficult. And then making it make sense within a space like this is really difficult. And so. My kind of practice as a curator is really wanting to, I don't want the artists to remain on the outside of the show. I wanted to kind of bring them inside, and for people to learn a little bit about, the person who this gigantic kind of exhibition is based upon. And so we've done an incredible publication, and again without the support of some incredible sponsors, and without the tremendous support too of Rosalind Oxley Nye Gallery, Nyapanyapa's representative in Sydney, and also the incredible staff out of Yolŋu out in Yirrkala. Had some tremendous support from people like Will Stubbs and Muruki Gunamba Stubbs, Yolŋu Yunupiŋu, Nyapanyapa herself, who helped us, translate parts of the catalogue. We also have text in the exhibition translated into English from Yolŋu. So, yeah, being able to make it an inclusive exhibition was really a big challenge as well. It's a lot of challenges, but I think we've pulled together with all that support a really fantastic show that I think is a wonderful tribute to her work thus far. This isn't a retrospective; it's a survey show of what Nyapanyapa has produced thus far, and what happens next is almost what's most exciting in lots of ways. Yeah. And so you've had a lot of time to spend walking around the exhibition as it is at the moment, and it is still, a work in progress. We're nearing the end though now, and I wondered what you think audiences are going to take away from the show. What do you think the audience reaction will be to this show?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. Varied, of course, as audience experiences are, always subjective and always can be very different. But for me, I think one of the most interesting things about seeing all of this work together for the first time is that despite the fact that Nyapanyapa's practice and the way that she works is very diverse, it is very different. There's sculptural work, there's bark, there's digital elements, there's printmaking, all of those things. There's something about seeing it all together in this space that sort of, it's like a process of distillation. Sort of, for me, feels like you've created something really strong and powerful by virtue of just bringing all of these things into the one place. And the other thing I think which is really fascinating about this exhibition is the story that it tells of Nyapanyapa's life as well as her art, and the way those two things have changed simultaneously.
You described yesterday that there's a tremendous amount of activity on the surface of these works, and there are, the really unique way in which Nyapanyapa works, where her line work, it is a space that's just kind of brimming with kind of movement and activity, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. On every wall, and the activity is emphasised. I mean, like you say, all of that line work, all of that action, all of that movement, but there's so much movement on the surfaces of the things that she's working on. How raw and organic bark surfaces can be, or larrakitch, that all of those things are moving too. Feels very alive for me in that way.
And us curators, we love to tell ourselves and each other, how important the work is we are doing. But this is one exhibition that I'm kind of, proud of, and really happy for Nyapanyapa to have, her incredible kind of work recognised in this way. And I think it's important work, and I think it's important to recognise it. What do you think's important about this show?
I totally echo your sentiments for the reasons that it's important, that Nyapanyapa's a prolific, remarkable artist who is worthy of her work to be exhibited like this, and that she is an Indigenous artist, that she's alive, that she's a woman. And I think it's not just having an opportunity to showcase her work for those reasons, but an opportunity to celebrate those reasons. That's where it sits for me. And one of the things that I love about this exhibition, that you've done in this exhibition, is include the moving portrait of Nyapanyapa. And that for me feels like putting in place early, as you walk into the exhibition, it's right in front of you, putting in place her presence, her story, her agency, that she's right there looking back at audiences. And that sometimes in exhibitions it can feel like the artworks or objects that you're encountering or experiencing are really divorced from the person who's created them. And I love that she's right there, and that you're making that connection. They're not separate things. It's because of that person that all of these things exist. Yeah.
And for our audience, like that moving portrait is something that the museum, we asked the Muka project to create for that very purpose that you're discussing there. So it's a very large projection of Nyapanyapa's face, of her looking into the camera. And yeah, I really did want our audience to connect with the fact that, it's really important that museums, that institutions like ours acknowledge living artists, and that we work with living artists so that they might benefit from this process as well, because a tremendous thing that I think Nyapanyapa might experience when she makes it in to see this exhibition is that, she will have an opportunity to reflect on, the incredible legacy that she's building for the Yolŋu community. And yeah, I really wanted our audience to look that living artist in the face when they walk in, and make their way around the exhibition with that beautiful face in mind, because really you think about she's a tiny lady, but an incredibly powerful mark maker. And I know that people will have some wonderful moments of discovery in this exhibition, and hopefully the beautiful moving portrait made by the Yirrkala project will be one of those moments. You have a background with prints and printmaking, and wondering if you could speak a little bit about, Nyapanyapa's been quite a prolific printmaker over the years as well, and in fact was, made prints really before she worked on bark. So wondering if you could kind of give us some insight into her printmaking career.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I think, and we were talking about this yesterday, one of the things that's so interesting about Nyapanyapa's practice is that there is a sort of very strong experimental dimension to it, whether they're exercises in exploring line making or form or surface. And all of those things exist in printmaking in this very simple, reduced form. In its sort of barest, most pared back way, dry point etching, for example, is the act of making a line. It's just drawing a line. So perhaps for Nyapanyapa, printmaking has been an extension of that experimentation process, particularly with mark making. Although she has worked in various different methods of printmaking as well, screen printing and aquatint etching, which is a much softer, sort of more gradiated colour process. When you look at her printmaking, when you look at the print wall in this exhibition, you can see how diverse her practice has been and how it's changed over time. Those early screens that are almost like psychedelic, really saturated colour, figurative, right to really abstract dry point etchings that are just lines. So I don't really know the answer, but that could be a potential sort of framework for how printmaking fits into her practice, as a way of her being able to experiment with those simple aesthetic exercises like making marks.
Right.